everybody. Happy New Year. I am Dr. Whitney Costers, and I am genuinely grateful to be here in 2026 with you. And I appreciate that you've chosen to spend a few moments of your day right here with me now. Because this is a time of renewal, resolutions, and reevaluation, I wanted to do something a little different today. I want to share my thoughts on Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, which I read for the very first time just last month. As a literature professor, I spend a lot of time lecturing and analyzing texts. And while there will be some analysis here, this video is going to be less about teaching a novel and more about the life lessons this book reaffirmed for me. What struck me most is how closely this novel mirrors a philosophy about life that I already believe in and try to practice every day. The Alchemist is not about religion, rules, or reward. It's about alignment. It's about what happens when intention, courage, and attention move in the same direction. And when that happens, life responds, not as magic, but because your mind shapes what you notice, how you act, and what becomes possible. I believe in manifestation in this way as proven neuroscience, which I've studied quite a bit over the last couple of years. It's well studied that repeated thoughts shape your brain, and your brain shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcome. That means there is an incredible amount of power available in how we think, what we focus on, and what we choose to do. So when fear runs your mind, life contracts. When courage leads, life expands. And The Alchemist understands this intuitively and tells that truth through story. So in this video, I want to talk about the life lessons I saw in this book and maybe offer an invitation to you, an invitation to let go a little, to take chances, to be more mindful and grateful, to listen more closely to what matters. The book reminds us that love is not possession, that purpose is not punishment, that meaning is not imposed from the outside, and that the universe does not need to be controlled or explained to be honored. Positivity creates more possibility. Negativity creates more limitation. And most importantly, the way we move through life is inseparable from how we treat ourselves internally. As you listen, I would genuinely love to know what resonates with you, not in a surface level way, but in a very real human one. If a lesson feels familiar, uncomfortable, hopeful, or timely, please share that in the comments. This space is meant for reflection and connection, not just for consumption. And if these conversations about literature, meaning, and inner life feel valuable, consider subscribing and joining me here as we continue exploring how stories help us understand ourselves and this life a little better. Lesson 1. Dreams fade not from failure, but from choosing comfort over movement. One of the clearest contrasts in The Alchemist comes through the crystal shop owner and Santiago, and it reveals something quietly uncomfortable about how dreams actually fade. Most people do not fail at their dreams in some dramatic way. They just slowly trade them for comfort. The crystal shop owner once dreamed of traveling to Mecca, a journey that would have challenged him, changed him, and likely brought a deeper sense of fulfillment for him. For years, that dream gives him something to talk about, something to hold on to during difficult times. Santiago notices how often he mentions it almost with pride and yet never moves toward it. And it's not because the dream does not matter. I mean, it clearly does. The problem is that acting on it would disrupt his life. It would require leaving the shop, stepping into uncertainty, and facing the unknown of what comes next. So instead, he chooses comfort. He improves the shop. He makes more money. He builds a life that is predictable and safe. Over time, he tells himself that this is a way of explaining why staying still is a reasonable choice. The book is gentle, but it's honest here. I mean, comfort is not neutral. It can quietly replace aliveness. Santiago can see this. The shop owner survives, but there is a sense that something essential remains untouched. Santiago's story shows the other side of this truth. His journey does not truly begin until he sells his sheep. Until that moment, the treasure is just this idea that he kind of carries through his mind. Selling the sheep costs him security, routine, and certainty, and that is what makes the dream real. The moment he moves, consequences appear. I mean, he's robbed in Tangier and he loses everything. That loss could have ended the journey, and it would have made sense if it did, but instead it forces him into action. He has to survive and adapt and learn. Working in the crystal shop becomes part of that learning. Each interaction teaches him patience, observation, and insight into human behavior. Small successes begin to build confidence, and he starts to see that movement, even after loss, can change things. Later, crossing the desert tests him in a deeper way. The heat, the danger, and the uncertainty push him to trust his own judgment and stay present. With every step, his understanding of what is possible stretches a little further. The book returns to this idea again and again. Desire on its own does nothing. Dreams remain theoretical until they are met with risk and movement. Readiness does not arrive first, it follows action. So many things that we want stay safely in thought because moving toward them would cost comfort, routine, or certainty. So ask yourself where a dream may have turned into a story instead of a step. Not as a call for recklessness, but as an invitation to notice where life might be waiting for movement rather than intention alone. Lesson 2, fear is not the enemy, obedience to fear is. Now, fear walks beside Santiago the entire way, from the moment he finds himself alone in Tangier, to crossing the desert, to allowing himself to love Fatima. Fear never really leaves him. And that matters a lot because the book never suggests that courage means feeling fearless. Courage appears when fear is present, and the choice to keep going is made anyway. We also see what happens when fear is allowed to lead. The crystal shop owner listens to it so closely that his world slowly becomes smaller. The Englishman hides behind books, using knowledge to protect himself from the vulnerability of trying. Both responses make sense. They're very familiar, they're very human, but they show how easily fear can turn into a life strategy rather than a momentary feeling. Santiago chooses something harder. He does not try to get rid of fear, and he doesn't pretend it's not there. He carries it with him. When bandits rob him, when the desert feels unforgiving, when love asks something real of him, he keeps moving. Not recklessly and not without care, but with intention. Fear stops being a command and becomes a signal. It sharpens his awareness without stopping his steps. So remember in your own life that fear rarely announces itself honestly. It often sounds like caution, responsibility, or logic. Ask yourself where fear has been quietly deciding the shape of your life and where listening to it has felt safer than trusting yourself. Life does not wait for fear to fade. Really, it unfolds when movement happens alongside it. Lesson 3, knowledge without lived experience keeps people stuck. One of the most revealing contrasts in the book is how knowledge shows up. The Englishman knows everything about alchemy in theory. He has studied it, memorized it, and he understands it intellectually, but he never quite knows how to live it. Books become a kind of shelter for him. A place where he can feel prepared and capable without having to risk being wrong. Santiago learns in a completely different way. He learns by crossing deserts, by failing, by working in the crystal shop, by watching people closely, and by paying attention to how life responds when he actually takes a step forward. His understanding comes from experience, not explanation, and that lived knowledge reshapes how he trusts himself and the world. The book gently points to something that many of us avoid admitting. You will never ever feel fully ready. There is no moment where uncertainty disappears and confidence suddenly just arrives first. Readiness is not a prerequisite for action. It is often the result of it. Waiting to feel prepared can quietly turn into waiting forever. The last thing you want is to regret what you did not do but could have so easily done. I remind myself daily that time is not guaranteed and growth does not happen later. It happens in motion in the imperfect present. So if not now, when? Lesson 5. Identity can become a prison when the stories about it stop evolving. Every character in this book carries a story about who they are and why their life looks the way it does. The crystal shop owner tells himself a story about practicality and realism. The Englishman tells himself a narrative about knowledge and preparation. And Santiago begins with a story about being a shepherd, a role that once made sense but eventually becomes too small for him. These stories are not lies, they are explanations, ways of making life feel coherent and safe. But the book shows how easily they can turn into limits when they stop evolving. When a story becomes fixed, it starts to justify choices, relationships, and routines that no longer reflect who someone is becoming or should be. Santiago's journey slowly disrupts his old narrative. Each risk he takes, each unfamiliar situation he survives, challenges the story he has been telling himself about what he is capable of. His identity shifts not because he declares a new one, but because lived experience makes the old one impossible to maintain. Here is a hard truth. People often stay in situations, roles, or relationships not because they are fulfilling, but because they fit a story that has been told for a long time. Ask yourself what stories and narratives you tell yourself to justify your identity, the choices and decisions that you have made in your life to be where you are now. Are they true, or have they just become part of an identity that you are imprisoned in? Lesson 6. Love is not attachment. It is freedom, trust, and security. Now, Fatima represents one of the most emotionally mature ideas of love in the entire book, and she deserves a lot more attention than she often gets. She doesn't try to hold Santiago in place or ask him to abandon his path in order to prove his devotion, because she understands something essential, that real love does not shrink a person, it allows them to grow. What makes Fatima powerful is not waiting, but trust, a deep sense of security in herself and in the connection that they share. She knows that love built on fear, jealousy, or control eventually suffocates both people, and that love which demands the sacrifice of purpose may feel intense or romantic, but it quietly creates resentment and regret. The book draws a careful distinction here. Love that is aligned with purpose strengthens courage and clarity, while love rooted in fear of loss creates anxiety, hesitation, and self betrayal. Santiago comes to see that it is not love itself that threatens his journey, but the fear of losing love, and that distinction changes everything. This feels deeply relevant in real life, where attachment is often mistaken for devotion and where insecurity can easily disguise itself as protection or concern. And as we know, that can lead to all sorts of problems in romantic relationships. Fatima shows another way. Love is understanding rather than possession. Love is security rather than surveillance. Love that trusts the bond enough to allow space, movement, and eventual return. So ask yourself, in your relationships, is love being used as a reason to stay small, or is a foundation strong enough to support becoming more? Lesson 7. The treasure was never the point. The journey is. When Santiago finally finds the treasure, it is right where he began. On the surface, that can feel almost anticlimactic, as if the story has folded back on itself. But the book is doing something far more honest here. It's reminding us that the treasure was never meant to be the destination. It was the reason to move. What mattered was not what he found, but who he became along the way. The courage that slowly replaced the fear. The awareness that grew through attention and loss, the trust he learned to place in himself, in timing, and in life itself. None of that could have been gained without the long road, the detours, the waiting, and the moments of doubt that asked him to stay anyway. The journey keeps pulling him into the present. The desert allows no distraction. Fear demands honesty. Love asks for presence rather than control. Again and again, Santiago is brought out of the future he is chasing and into the life he is actually living. Growth happens here, in the middle of uncertainty and not at the finish line. The book feels especially tender about how easy it is to forget this. So much of life is spent leaning forward, imagining that fulfillment lives somewhere ahead, just beyond the next achievement, the next milestone, the next version of ourselves. But The Alchemist reminds us that becoming happens in process, in movement, in lived experience. The goal gives direction, but the present moment is where life is shaped. Ask yourself how often life is postponed while waiting for something else to arrive. How often presence is traded for anticipation. Fulfillment may not come when something is finally reached, but while something is being lived and experienced. And paying attention to who you are becoming right now may be the most meaningful treasure there is for you. For me, The Alchemist really endures because it mirrors how life actually unfolds, not through dramatic moments, but through repeated small choices, quiet courage, and intentional alignment. Comfort or growth, fear or movement, listening or control. These are the decisions that shape a life. As we step into the new year, there is an invitation to notice where comfort or fear may be quietly steering direction and where presence and intention might open something new for you. Each step taken reshapes perception, builds trust, and expands what feels possible. If this way of thinking resonates, I do have other videos on the channel that explore similar ideas through literature, including one on The Little Prince, which looks at what we tend to forget about meaning, love, and presence as we grow older. You are welcome to explore those as well. I hope you do. I will leave you with a reminder that there is no someday promised for any of us. There is only the step that exists now and the way it quietly shapes the life being lived. There is an entire universe out there. Explore it, enjoy it, revel in it. Don't confine yourself in the human-made artifices that keep us in fear, because truly we are meant for so much more. Be well.